Braiding and braid extensions, Milady, chapter 18. General history, origins of braiding, Africa. It was known as an art form. It's handed down generation to generation. Today there's widespread use, reflects self-esteem and self-image. The significance of braiding, it signified a person's social status, and to a point some still do. The more important the person, the more elaborate the braid. It can take a lot of time depending on the style that's chosen, and it has always been, it's considered a time for women to socialize and form relationships. Many tribes are still identified by their distinctive hairstyles. The Egyptians decorated their braids with beads, shells, and sequins. In ancient India, the Anasazi and Native Americans also favored braids. In the 60s and 70s, braids were banned in many professions as well as some high schools. Now they are as acceptable as any other hairstyle. Braiding lets you show your creativity and can be a very lucrative salon service. There are braiding salons that are only braiding salons. They practice natural hairstyling, which means there are no chemicals used. They do not alter the natural curl or coil pattern of the hair at all. Why do we need to learn to do this? It's another tool in your toolbox. All of these styles come around. Right now we're doing a lot of updos with braids in them, and different kinds of braids. So it's just another tool to put in your toolbox, something else that you can do to offer your clients as a service. Personalization. Braids are very personal. Personalization will build client loyalty. They are very popular. It does go in cycles. It can be a very high profit service. You should be prepared to work with all types of hair, and braid extensions are the precursor to other types of extensions. Always do a consultation. You do not want to take out all those braids because you misunderstood what your client wanted. Find a picture. After they tell you what they want, repeat it back to them. Make sure you're on the same page. Pictures are fabulous. So braids can last up to 3 months, but you should shoot for 6 to 8 weeks. When you're doing your consultation, you're wanting to check the condition of the client's hair and scalp, what type of hair they have, what texture they have, what kind of curl configuration they have, if there are any scalp abrasions, if there is any thinning hair or balding, traction, alopecia, elasticity, porosity, what kind of style do they want, what kind of products are you going to recommend. The consultation is your opportunity to discover your client's wants and needs. Every braid service should be customized to the client. When you're doing your hair and scalp analysis, the texture is the diameter of the hair, it's the feel of the hair, the wave pattern that's in the hair. Density is hair per square inch. How much hair do they have on 1 square inch of scalp? Porosity, does it absorb water or does it repel water? Elasticity, does it stretch and return or does it stretch and break? The condition, is there damage from previous services? Traction alopecia is one of those things where they have had tracks where they've sewn in extensions and it's actually pulled their hair out and they have bald spots. You also need to know about the length for what kind of style that they want to have. Make sure they have enough length to do what they want, or if their hair is too long, you have to be able to tell them, okay, I can do this, but yours is going to be longer than that. You're also going to want to provide daily and weekly instructions as far as how to take care of it and what products they need to be using on it. The tools that you're going to be using: boar bristle brushes, a square paddle brush, vent brush, a wide tooth comb, double tooth combs, number 55 barber comb, which are the gray ones that I keep in the classroom, a rat tail comb, an 8 to 10 inch finishing comb, a cutting comb, the pick, a blow dryer with a pick attachment, which you guys get in your kits, a diffuser, a 5-inch shear, a long clip, butterfly and small clips, a hood dryer, a steamer, rubber bands, elastics, string, extension fibers, a hackle, and a drawing board. A hackle is basically a board of nails, and a drawing board sandwiches the extension hair. Okay, the materials that you're going to be using. There are a lot of choices. Try a little at a time to make sure it gives you the desired result. Try it out on a mannequin. Human hair. Most human hair is imported from Asia. The main thing when you're dealing with hair extension hair is to trust your supplier. Kanekalon. Some Kanekalon materials are high heat resistant, so you can curl that hair. Some are made especially for braiding, and Kanekalon is probably the most popular because it's the most like human hair, but it's not human hair, so it's a little cheaper. Nylon or rayon, you can't use any heat on these, they will melt. Sometimes that the fibers in nylon and rayon hair is so sharp that it cuts the client's natural hair. You can also use yarn. Usually it's brown or black, cotton or nylon. It gives a matte finish. It does not slip when it gets wet, and it's very durable for braids. Oh, lost a page, sorry guys. Lin is imported from Africa. It only will be black or brown, so don't see some blonde hair and let them tell you that it's lin, because it is not. It comes on a roll and you pick your size. Extremely flammable. This is extremely flammable. Yak hair comes from a domestic ox found in Tibet and Central Asia. And usually yak hair is combined with human hair. Okay, so when we start braiding, what are we going to do? It's best to braid hair dry. If you braid very curly hair while it is wet, it'll shrink and recoil as it dries. You guys know this from cutting, which might put too much stress on the natural hair, and it can create hair loss or breakage. If you must braid wet, allow room for shrinkage. Braid looser because it is going to tighten up as it dries. That said, straight resistant hair is best braided damp or with a light pomade. Braid Aid from Redken is an awesome product. We have a generic Braid Aid here somewhere. Find it out there on the floor and practice with it a little bit. The procedure is to shampoo, blot that hair without rubbing or tension, use a leave-in conditioner and detangle that hair. Blow dry using your pick attachment. Apply your Braid Aid or a wax or a pomade if desired, and brush it through. Keep in mind that textured hair is very, very fragile. Cornrows are narrow rows of visible braids. The 3-strand on the scalp technique. Consistent and even partings are key. That is so, so important. If you're going to do some kind of a design, make sure you get that parted off. It requires patience and a lot of practice. Everybody wears cornrows anymore. Designer cornrows have become very popular. That is where they're going in all different directions and making a design on their head with the cornrows. They generally last 4 to 6 weeks. Cornrows with extensions can go 6 to 8 weeks. At that point, all should be removed, shampooed and conditioned to prevent knotting, locking. You don't want it to knot, you don't want it to lock, you don't want it to thin the hair out. Cornrows with extensions, excuse me, and tree braids. Takes about 4 hours, and these are experienced people. It takes them about 4 hours. It's going to take us quite a bit longer. The client's hair is braided or cornrowed with extensions. A basic braid with extension, only braided out about a 1/2 inch. That is the tree braid. And then the cornrow, you add hair all along, but don't incorporate it all into the braid. You leave the ends hanging down. So it's braided into the hair, but what you see is just the long hair hanging down. Okay? The same thing with the tree braids. You'll see that 1/2 inch of hair braided around the front hairline usually, and the rest of it is just long hair hanging down. So that's what you see with that. Okay, types of braids. Somehow I got this a little backwards, I think. Visible is also called plaiting. Sometimes we call that a Dutch braid. It's just kind of easier. Invisible braid is a French braid. A rope braid. You're going to want to have hair that's one length or very long layered. Add hair to both sides before you twist it together. The fishtail braid, you need one length at least to the shoulder. Halo braids are 2 or 3 thick cornrows with the ends wrapped around the head, thus halo. Single braids, box braids, individual braids are all the same thing. They are free hanging. Your partings can be square, diamond, triangle, or rectangle. They will move in any direction, so pay attention to the direction that you're holding the hair as you're braiding. When you're adding extensions to this, use your 3-strand underhand technique. Check the color with the client before you start. Again, you are not going to want to do all this work and then have to turn around and take it out because it wasn't right. You can either use a drawing board or the freehand method of placing that hair in there. Finishing. Small elastic bands, the little clear bands that we have. You can singe with a ceramic or flat iron. A hot gun is used for fusion weaving. You can actually use that gun to seal off a braid. Singeing and the hot gun are advanced techniques. You will definitely want more training for that. Textured sets and styles. There are several textured sets and styles that are created on naturally curly textured hair. Textured sets tend to elongate the naturally frizzy hair and produce more of a smooth, silky, curly, wavy, and zigzag pattern when the hair is set wet or dry on natural curly or coily hair textures. Bantu knot or Nubian knots, the hair is double strand twisted or coil twisted and wrapped around itself to make a knot. Knots are secured by bobby pins or elastic bands. The Bantu knot out style. It's basically the knots that you just made, they're dry. You open them, and release them to create wavy and fuller, looser curls. Braid out set. What this does is you braid the hair, either wet or dry, and then you open the braid to create a crimp texture on texture effect. You guys all did this when you were kids. Braided your hair wet and then took it out when it was dry to make it look crimped. Flat twist, the hair is parted in several rows on the entire head. Each section is then divided into subsections and twisted and interwoven to lie flat on the scalp. Flat twist can be made in varying patterns with or without extensions. Once the hair has this flat twist set, make sure it's completely dry, otherwise this style is going to appear frizzy. But if you untwist it and open it up, it's called glamour waves. And then spiral rod sets can be achieved with rods, flexi rods, or curl reformers of all sizes. Hair is wrapped around the vertical rod, moving up the rod in a spiral. It's the same as wrapping a perm, same thing. But you also have to have that hair completely dry or it's going to look frizzy. Coils or comb twists, small sections of hair that are gelled and spiraled with fingers or a comb to create individual formations of tight, cylindrical coils. The Nubian coils comb technique is styled on naturally curly or textured hair. For this look, hair is curled into a cylindrical shape with a comb or fingers. The comb coil technique is also used to start locks. The coil out, once the hair has been comb coiled into individual coils, dried completely, they uncoil them or neatly unravel them. Now it's just basically it's fuller coils that lift up off the scalp to have more of an afro type look. The afro was very popular in the 60s and 70s. Twist styles, also known as double strand twist. You're going to have your wet hair, gelled or dry, either way. They divide the hair into 2 sections, overlap them to create the twisted rope effect, or more of a textured effect on wet hair. It's a 2-part set that can be done on natural hair, transitional hair, twists, extensions, weaves, wigs, and locks. It can be done on pretty much everything. The hair is double strand twisted, then set on rods. So you're basically doing two different kind of curls. Rods can be placed only at the end of the hair or lock. For a full set, rods can also be placed vertically all the way to the base of the hair. Twist curls on textured hair are achieved by using a double twist technique. The twisting technique is executed on wet hair to define the textured curls and waves. Twist out style, unravel that twist. Okay, that's just what that is. Alrighty, locks. For some reason I didn't put locks on here. Locks are separate networks of curly textured hair that have been intertwined and meshed together. No chemicals are used for locks. You may use a gel or something, but no chemical. It's slow phases. It can take 6 to 12 months to get a full set of locks going, to get them actually locked. Generally, it's a cultural expression. Procedures, there's a lot of different ways to do this. Double twisting, wrapping with cord, coiling, palm rolling, or braiding, which is usually done with yarn. And the last way, just don't comb it. Just don't comb it. It will eventually will lock up. Examples of that would be Rastafarians from Jamaica. Cultivated African locks have symmetry and balance. Okay, phases of locks. There are phases. This is not something that they can't come in and say, I want locks, and have full-on locks when they walk out the door. It's going to take 6 to 12 months. Okay, the beginner phase, the hair is coiled. It's smooth, the end is open, it's shiny, it's just starting out, it's a baby. Okay, pre-lock hair begins to mesh, separate units begin to puff up and expand. Then you have the sprouting phase, which you can feel a little bulb at the ends of the lock. And then the growing stage, the hair starts to regain the length, because you know when you twisted it up, you shortened it way up. Okay, so the growing stage, the hair begins to regain its length. And then the maturation stage, the locks are closed at the ends, they're dense and full, and it's now much longer. That is it for braiding and braid extensions. See you in class.